Hello and welcome to another edition of This Week in ITFC History. This is part 2 of a special edition looking back at one of the greatest seasons in Ipswich Town's history, the 1980-81 season. And along with my friend and colleague, the Renegade Statman, we'll be looking back as usual at the names, the games, the wins, the draws and the losses from 1980-81. So Stat, good to see you, mate. You're surviving all this working from home lark.
Much of what I do during the day is exactly what I'm doing now, apart from...
Likewise, really, other than the occasional trip up to London and stuff like that, which I must admit I'm not missing. But I think we're all starting to sort of get strangely used to it, really, aren't we?
Yeah. Got plenty of jobs that I need to start around the house.
We're recording this on the Thursday on the eve of the Easter of great excitement, the Easter holiday, which let's face it, it's going to be like bloody Groundhog Day. But there you go. Everyone seems to be now, in most people adhering to the sort of lockdown policy. And I trust you weren't one of the ones picnicking on Rushmere Heath last Saturday.
Sunbathing in the bunker. As close as I could get to a beach.
I did hear that. But anyway, Stat, tonight we're looking at part 2 from the 80-81 season. We've already got one in the can, which is a little bit of a marathon. We did a fair introduction. I think we set the scene. That took quite a bit of time, didn't it? But also I remember, and I must just quickly, because I'll clean forget about this, got to congratulate you on your unbelievable interview with Jim Magilton last week, mate. How was that? You look quite chuffed with yourself, I've got to admit.
Well, Jim came back on Twitter and he suddenly was active again, and there was pestering for an interview, and then I finally gave in and said, yeah, all right then. No, unbelievable. When he said, yeah, I'll do it, and this has been I've been working on it for months and months, but when he started talking and I had advice to not interrupt him, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
I know. Do you know what? I think he came across like that. I think he's one of these guys where he talks, you listen. I mean, he was both intense, passionate, just an incredible and great. A bit like when we spoke. I know we spoke to David Johnson before. Great memory for parts of the game and really it's so enjoyable. As was, and I've got to confess, I've only seen some of it. Our other colleague on the podcast, on the Blue Monday podcast, Mikey Penty Smith, earlier this week did another great interview with Matt Holland. So that's something else to listen to. Also, I've got to confess, I haven't heard it all, but from what I've heard so far, again, Matt Holland comes across just brilliantly, and Mikey does a great job with that also. So
I think for me, probably the most difficult thing is obviously I've been working with Jim a fair bit, and getting that interview, and now kind of sort of after the Lord Mayor's show, sitting down with you.
I wouldn't quite say that, Stat, actually. I'd say actually you're sort of probably moving up a gear, but look, okay, yes, this is your, that's totally your take on things. But anyway, so we're into part 2, and we're beginning on, I think, the 22nd of October with...
So it's the 18th game of the season, and when you were talking, I could hear producer Ben in here thinking, please do not have a marathon, just get straight on with the game. So it's the 18th game of the season. It's a Wednesday night, 22nd of October, and we are home to, I like the manager's name, I'm going to go with that. We're at home to Thomas Popsicles, Bohemians of Prague.
Yeah.
Well, I call them Bohemians of Prague, but they are Bohemians Prague. But I think when I grew up, they were Bohemians of Prague in my mind.
They're another one of these teams where I know the Evening Star probably, when the draw was made, all these Czech teams, all these decent Czech teams, are always called the Crack, drawn against the Crack outfit, Bohemians Prague from Czechoslovakia.
Well, obviously,
and I think they certainly were, going by one or two of the players they had, one in particular, of course.
Yeah, without a doubt. So most of you realise that it's not the League Cup second round, it's the UEFA Cup second round that we're playing against Bohemians. And you're right, the standout player, or certainly the standout name for me, and I'm interested in your view, Panenka. Was there a big fuss when he came to Portman Road?
Oh, no. So yes and no, really. I mean, to be fair, in previous seasons we'd had bloody hell, Johan Cruyff, and Netzer, people going way back for Real Madrid, Johan Cruyff, Hans Krenkel with Barcelona also. Yeah, but a big name, and obviously made his name with the penalty, the chip, the Panenka, which always is forever will be known as the Panenka. First time I certainly ever saw it in the 1976 Euro, well, they weren't called the Euros, European Championship final against West Germany, of course. So yeah, he was the sort of standout name there for sure.
So let's go through the team, and we've got a change. Tyson's picked up a hamstring injury in the last game against Man United. So Steve McCall is at this point in the season is your go-to man, but I think he starts playing a much major part, a bigger part.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the fact that he's. So we've got Cooper in goal.
Yeah.
Just to refresh ourselves, and we've got Burley, Butcher, Osman, Mills. I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah, standard. Yeah.
So we've then got McCall, Walk, Murin, and Gates. So what would McCall would be on the left wing? Would he?
And again, this is this thing, isn't it? Again, this is formation. So yeah, again, they perhaps would have gone with just the three there with the four with Gates playing wide left, but again quite fluid. It could then go to that Gates pushing forward in a 4-3-3, or again the 4-3-1-2 with Gates playing behind the Mariner and Brazil. Very, 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 very fluid that.
Great team, and one player off our strongest 11.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Steve McCall, I think most of us would say Franz Tyson would edge him in that first 11.
No offence. I don't think Steve would take offence to that.
No.
I think we should just say coming into this, great. So, league form, absolutely brilliant. 1-8, drawn 2, lost just the 1. Yeah.
Interesting for this game, and we'll hear a bit more about him later. But McCall got the nod. Steve McCall got the nod over Kevin Beattie, who's on the bench. So obviously, and it's quite interesting watching. I watched the boys of '81. And I'm not quite sure what the relationship was like between Bobby Robson and Kevin Beattie at that point. I think,
it's kind of odd stat. Do you know what? I think by that point, I mean, Kevin Beattie obviously idolised Robson and two-way, very much a two-way thing. But do you know what? Maybe I think it almost come to the point where I think Robson had realised that Beattie was never going to get back because of his knee was bloody ravaged by that point. And perhaps that's a good point you made. I get the feeling that Robson feels that he was never actually going to ever really get back to his best. But even Kevin Beattie at that stage, at 3/4 of his best, would still walk into pretty much any team. Plus he had Butcher and Osman as a settled centre half.
Yeah, good. So nervy first half. No, it's just I thought you paused a little bit for the people who were watching. I thought you paused.
No, I
That's
didn't.
Why
I think it paused there a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were just saying like a statue or so.
Oh.
So a nervy half time, nervy first half, and I read that half time Bobby Ferguson went round the dressing room and was just telling all the players, it's about being patient, and this is a different style of football. And whatever he said worked because 2 goals from Walk in the first 9 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, just prolific, wasn't he? I mean, UEFA Cup, I mean, he was incredible. Yeah, just adding to his ongoing tally of goals, for Christ's sake.
But we skip across those goals because we go towards the 85th minute. Walk's gone off with an injury, and he's replaced by Kevin Beattie with the instructions from Bobby Robson to stick up front and make a bit of a nuisance of himself from corners and throw-ins.
Yeah. No, I think he still had that spring, although, like I said, his knees and stuff, but he still had that incredible jump on him. So it wouldn't, put him up there for the last 10, 15 minutes wouldn't have been an issue.
So for all of his physical attributes up front, to win headers and do you want to talk us through the goal? So I'll just say Town win a free kick, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say one of the early definitions of thunder bastard in the Oxford English. This one, where and everyone knows what's coming. Really, I think Mills just basically gets a like a 2-yard assist, rolls it square, and he just absolutely larrups it from I don't know, 25 yards, absolutely arrows it in the top corner. One of his last Town goals probably must. Well, I can think of one more that comes after the turn of the year, but one of his last Town goals. And yeah, spoiler alert, going forward, a very, very important goal as it turns out.
Well, it was Mick Mills, one of Mick Mills's top 10 goals of the season.
Yeah, I saw your I saw that little bit of note there. Yeah.
So when you consider that to be one of the top 10 goals of the season, you wonder what some of the others are as well, because fantastic goal.
That was a feature of that season. You remember, there weren't. I mean, there were some great goals. Don't get me wrong, but I can't really remember that season. Incredibly standout goals. I mean, a lot of the goals were just great all-round team play. And yeah, a walk was there on the second ball. A walk made a late run. But yeah, there's interest in some of the goals that Mills chose, and we'll get to one or two more actually. I
read about this goal in one of the books that I've got, and if you've never seen this goal, and you read it in a book, this is what you would think it would be. It described the goal as Beattie puts it away after Mills's free kick. Which is like,
he literally rolls.
Yeah, Mills gets the assist, but yeah, no more than that. 17,000 there. So again, we were not pro-Europe really back then.
Not at that stage. Christ, that's surprisingly low. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. But no, a good win, and more importantly, as we know in Europe, with away goals and everything else, didn't concede 3 goals. So yeah, you do go away with some confidence. Although in previous seasons, we'd lost a 3-goal lead in Bruges, we'd lost a 3-goal lead in Barcelona. So yeah, nothing, not totally cut and dried. But anyway. Got a program for me, Stat?
Got the program, yeah. We're recording it when it's getting a bit dark now. We've done our clap for the heroes and carers and key workers and emotions, so it's a little bit dark. So playing around with the light, but yeah, iconic program cover. And I'm just gonna share the bit or a little piece of paper falling out there. The mascot, which I thought if we could get him up, he's Andrew Brown.
Hello, he's from Ipswich.
Yeah, Levington Road, 68A.
There we go. Definitely worth a mention. So 1980, so he'd be 51.
Yeah.
That just cracks me up.
He doesn't want to be reminded about that. So we go straight into game 19, which is the 12th league game of the season.
Yeah.
And we are at the newly promoted Sunderland, managed by Ken Knighton. Don't really know a lot about him. And the only player that stood out for Sunderland was Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, Big Sam at centre-back. Yeah, Ken Knighton, used to play for Hull. I remember, ex-Hull player back in the sort of late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, other than that, I couldn't tell you really what his managerial career went after that.
So, change to the team. Walk obviously was injured in the game against Bohemian. So Beattie comes in. And I'm guessing that the formation now is Cooper in goal, Burley at right back, Osman and Beattie as centre halves, and Butcher at
I would say I'm not sure. Perhaps even by that time Beattie was mobile enough. But I mean, he probably still had enough in the tank, but compared to what he had, perhaps mobile enough to play at left back. So yeah, I'd have gone with that. I think Stat. Yeah.
A goal from Uran just before half time, and then one from Brazil in the 67th minute. It's a 2-0 win for Town.
Job done. Yeah.
Mariner tears his calf muscle as an injury. But it ends a run of 3 league draws, which we ended with the last part. So now we have a look at the table, and obviously we mentioned a little bit about the games in hand, and obviously if you watch part 1, then you'll know, and if not, just at one point we were 5 points ahead. So now Liverpool are third on 18 points from 13 games. We're second on 20 with 20 points from 12 games, and Villa are top with 22 points from 14 games. So we're only 2 points behind Villa with 2 games in hand. Bobby Robson spoke about that. It was important after the win in the UEFA Cup to follow up with a win that lets us stay
again, this is not, there's no Sunday games back in then, so you're straight back into it. So you're playing in Prague on the Wednesday evening. Yeah, I think Wednesday evening, and you're back. You're back up at Sunderland on the Saturday. No Sunday games on Monday evening games back then.
And the games followed quickly on the Tuesday. I don't know how much you want to talk about this. It's the League Cup 4th round. A great chance for our team to get to Wembley. We were away to Birmingham City.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I think this one, and I know Robson, I said I referred to that this book that I made a lot of reference to before. He says in that book that not too sorry. Injuries again, no Mariner, no Tyson again. Injuries kicking in, and he said, not too sorry really.
No, I mean Town took the lead, walked with a penalty, but then a penalty from Worthington 5 minutes later, and is it Gareth Ainscough?
Alan Ainscough.
Alan Ainscough.
Oh,
right,
okay.
okay.
I mean, again, the thing to look at that team stat. So obviously you've got replacements in DeVray and Mccall for Tyson. For Tyson and Mariner. But again, other than that, full strength side. There's no rest in the players there at all.
Standout players for Birmingham: Kirbishley, Keith Birchin, who obviously had a hand in both of Birmingham's goals. Frank Worthington and Andy Gemmell.
Archie, yeah. Do
you know what? Gemmell.
Archie Gemmell. Frank Worthington, one of my favourite players. I remember him playing for Leicester when I was, when I first used to go and watch sort of early mid 70s, and it's just worth going down there to watch him warm up with a ball, mate. He just used to come out long hair, Denny Worthington and stuff with a ball, socks rolled down. Genius, absolute genius. With we'd never seen sort of players do tricks in that back in those days. Absolutely brilliant player. Flair, one of these 70s Tony Curry, Stan Bowles, flair players. Outstanding.
He always, if I'm being honest, he always looked a bit overweight to me. A bit, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but he looked like he could fit in down Bourne Park or something on a Sunday morning.
Probably scorer of one of the greatest ever goals I've ever seen against Town. Gotta be, hasn't it? You could watch that goal again and again. What a goal that is. That was like the 2 seasons before. Yeah, 2 seasons before. Yeah, outstanding. For Bolton.
So we're at the League Cup. Bobby Robson said it was a poor performance from Town, but as you're right, it's a distraction, and probably when we were looking for going for the quadruple, that was the one that we would have.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think going. Yeah, I mean, obviously as this season rolls on, the league is obviously a priority, but that was not a bad game to lose that one.
So we start November with a home game against West Brom, managed by Ron Atkinson, and they've got some great players in their team. Brian Robson, was it Statham?
Derek Statham,
last
player. Yeah. I mean,
Cyril Regis.
I mean, his centre mid there. You got Remy Moses and Brian Robson in centre mid that were the cornerstone of Man U's central midfielder. 3 or 4 seasons later. Yeah.
So they were had some great players. The only change for the Town team was that Tyson came back in for DeVray, so we were still with Brazil and Gates up front. Nothing happens in this game that we should really talk about until it's all overshadowed by what happens in the 50th minute. Paul Cooper, who's been struggling for a bit. I think he struggled a bit in that game, and in the second half, goes out. He manages 5 minutes, and he can't do any more. So he goes off. Robin Turner comes on.
Yeah.
And I think, and I remember I was at this game, but I think,
wow.
I remember at this game because it's an unusual thing, and I can't remember how Russell Osman got his shirt on. Did they have spare shirts back then for a keeper?
No.
So I'm expecting Paul Cooper to.
Oh no, you would have. It's a shirt. Yeah. No, I'm sure that's what would have happened. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I can't recall it, and I'm sure I might not have been at this game because I was thinking about that season when I started to play sort of fairly serious Saturday football. So I'm not sure I was at this game, but I'm sure there weren't spare goalkeeper shirts in those, mate. There was one with a 1 on the back, and Cooper would have had to take it off, mate. Definitely.
Yeah. And he would have wore his gloves as well, I guess. And they think they're always sort of hot and wet and sweaty. You put your hand,
Flammy, I reckon that.
Russell Osman goes up in my estimations there.
What I do seem to remember about this is the reports of this game and Russell Osman actually having obviously some saves to make as well.
From what I recall, he certainly did make saves, but I think a lot of credit should go to the defence in front of him. And obviously, with one of the changes, with Osman dropping from centre half, Walk then drops back from midfield into his the position that he kind of started off with the team. But another thing, Franz Tyson picks up an injury in that game, and basically, because the sub's been made, basically just kind of limps around the pitch for.
Yeah, that was. You'd think he's come back too soon. I think if there's one thing, that is it. The key players perhaps in this season were rushed back too soon.
The game ends 0-0, so we'll take the positives like Bobby Robson did. He talked about the great spirit. He talked about the fact that his keeper's gone out and the defender's gone in. It's 0-0. So looking at the league table, Forest make an appearance in third at this point. They're on 20 points from 15. We're on 21 from 13. Villa are on 24. They've opened the gap because obviously they won that weekend. I'm just going to share again with you the mascot in the programme. Obviously, you've got to find it at this point, but it's important whenever we find a mascot who lives in Ipswich to share with them. Yeah, so we've got, I think his name is Stephen Hammond.
Stephen Hammond, Bradford Road. Look at this. Stevie Hammond. He's only 5. Oh, he's a young. He's only 45.
Wow.
Little Stevie Hammond. Look at him.
Steve-O.
Steve-O.
Nice wherever he is.
Hope he enjoyed his day.
I don't know about you, but Russell Osman played 66 of these games. We're up to talking about game 22 now, and I already feel a bit out of breath.
Oh, honestly, yeah. So we're back in. Where are we going? We're going back in Europe, aren't we?
Yeah, and we're on a jet plane, and we're flying off to Prague with Thomas Popsicle. And I guess he would have been a frozen popsicle in this game because these things don't write themselves. Sub-zero temperatures -16, but the most important thing is it's the first senior start for almost a year for the German international lorry civil.
Yeah, I think you got to give a bit of. Didn't mean to give a bit of background. That was on today, by the way. I caught that film this afternoon, flicking through the film channels. Escape to Victory. That was there always.
Well, when I was younger, my dad told me that was like 1970s highlights or whatever. I thought it was a proper international game. Are you saying he's not? Wow. So he comes
Little lorry civil.
Yeah. And Beattie comes back into the side again for Tyson. Obviously, he was injured against West Brom. Beattie. I'm putting Beattie in centre half with Osman again and Burley and Butcher as your left back.
Yeah.
Town are 1-0 down at half time. Panenka makes it 2-0. Did you see the free kick?
A bit grainy, but fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, the free kick is conceded by Laurie Civil rushing out in what looks like he's wearing his pajamas or something like that. And it was cold, to be fair.
Who was that Palace keeper that used to wear those sort of baggy bottoms?
Baroni.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It was a bit like him, and then Panenka takes a free kick. And I don't know what it was like in 1981. It would kind of fit into how football used to be in 2020, where a top Premier League player scored a cracking free kick because nobody moved. The wall didn't. Laurie Civil didn't. That's 2-0. But Town have got enough in them to see.
Yeah, I think we're hanging on. I think this is a famous game where everyone it's -16 and Beattie comes out in like I've seen this report on this game. It said Beattie comes out in like short sleeves and aluminium studs and like he's clip clopping around the pitch, but he's still the best player on the pitch. Oh, it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
3-2 was the win. Bobby Robson said that Bohemians were completely unrecognisable from the first leg, and we did well to hang on.
Yeah. So, and again, you're talking about Wednesday in Prague, and then straight into it the Saturday.
Well, the Saturday, the 14th league game. We're back from Czechoslovakia, and we're off on a 4-day tour of the south coast. So on Saturday, we're at the Dell with Laurie McMenemy, Southampton, with players of Watson, Nicol, Keegan, and Mick Shannon stand out for me.
Yeah, Phil Boyer as well, who scores. But we'll get to it. Scores an unbelievable goal.
Who doesn't score in this game?
Well, yeah, I know, but you tend to forget. Phil Boyer, who was at Norwich, then went to Southampton. The season or two before was a leading scorer in the top division, like 23 goals in the top division, Phil Boyer. So player.
Brazil's injured, so Marina's fit again, and they must have had revolving doors around the changing rooms there. So the only change is Mariner in for Brazil. Town, after 23 minutes, have taken a 2-goal lead. Gates and Walk.
Good finish. Yeah, Walk's a good one. I mean, deep cross and Burley, and a typical Walk late run is like he's on his own and he's 6 yards out, just ghosts in. Yeah, and you think 2-0. Yeah, fairly come. But it's the Dell sort of quieter, enclosed. The crowd get behind them, and I think they get a goal back quite soon, don't they? Really good goal actually.
Yeah, Williams scores just before before half time, 44th minute, and obviously that had a big impact. I think if we'd have gone in at half time 2-0 up, then we might have had enough to see us. Yeah. So it's 2-1 at half time, and then Phil Boyer 3 minutes later makes it 2-2. We play another 20 odd minutes, and then Mariner scores what we think is the winner in the 69th minute. Can you remember that?
Sort of tapping. I still remember. Yeah. And then I think again Robson says in his book there, it gets a bit nasty. There's a bit of a challenge from Butcher on Keegan, and Robson is absolutely incensed because he said, Keegan just he's in the ref's face, trying to get Butcher sent off, and he succeeds.
Yeah, and I read a different book to that one, but he says the same thing. He labels Kevin Keelan disgusting and pathetic. Mick Mills obviously said it was quite difficult for him because he was an England teammate as well. But basically did the same. So that was on the 74th minute. So we've got 16 minutes to see out the win. 1 minute later, Southampton equalise.
Steve Moran, again, quite prolific, I
want to speak to you here at this point about Laurie Civil, right?
Yeah,
he's not played. He's been out for a year. He's come in, and we've conceded 5 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
Was his lack of height?
Yeah, I think so. Cooper was so good, wasn't he? I mean, Cooper wasn't the biggest. I mean, Cooper was perhaps just a touch under 6 foot. Certainly not the biggest, but great spring, and quite, broad, quite wide. Civil just looked little in the goal, but what a servant to the club. I mean, I think, 14 years at the club, probably just under a couple of 100 games. He was a regular for a time between Best and sort of Cooper. But I think it was always Civil, sort of almost coming in out of the cold. I mean, Cooper was virtually ever present, but it just always struggled. I think just because of his stature and lack of height, really.
Mick Mills,
brave, very brave. Bloody hell! I mean, remember, mid to late 70s, getting his teeth knocked out by Andy, diving in on Andy Gray and getting his teeth knocked out, and brave as hell, But he's always, his lack of height was against him, really.
He'd have to be brave coming out in those tracky bottoms. That's what I say. Mick Mills is 10th. Is in his top 10 games of the season. This one. Now I want to go to the league table. Is a thing I noticed when I was doing this. I want to mention it to you. So Forest are still in third, 21 points from 16. We're second, 22 from 14, and Villa 25 from 16. Now we're 3 points behind, 2 games in hand, and I actually went back to see where Villa were after 14 games. And I started tracking it kind of from this point. So at 14 games, Villa had exactly the same, 22 points. So even though we haven't played as many games as them, at that 14 game point, we are matching them at that point. That's something to keep an eye on. So we've had a little go on the beach and things that you used to be allowed to do in the 80s, go out. And so the Tuesday night we're at the Goldstone ground for relegation threatened Brighton and Hove Albion, managed by Alan Mullery. Injuries and suspensions from obviously Butcher's injured mean that Bobby Robson has to phone Portman Road, and this is what it said in the book. And it kind of made me, I was like, did he actually phone Portman Road and then get and somebody answered, went, hello, and he said, yeah, can you get me Alan Hunter and Robin Turner down here? And then somebody went, Alan. I don't know how that happened, but that's how it said in the book.
You don't know, dear, but it probably was almost like that back in the day. Robson obviously, I guess, wouldn't have had their home numbers to hand. He's phoning the football club, saying, can we get me Alan, Big Al on the phone, and Robin Turner, get him down here, we need him. I mean, look, the team is just decimated. You look at it. I think it was one of Hunter's last games. I think maybe certainly his last start, must have been his last start.
It's absolutely a lucky dip defence, I kind of think. So you got Civil in goal, and then you got Burley, Hunter in for the suspended Butcher, Osman and McCall. So I'm Hunter and Osman, I'm guessing, will be as your 2 centre halves. But in the last 3 games, we've had Butcher and Osman, Beatty and Osman, Butcher and Osman, Hunter and Osman. I mean, you've got to think whether Russell Osman had a bit of an issue about this. Everybody else.
You got to think that game. Butcher plays, you're probably not going to lose.
No.
Probably. I'm not saying you're going to win. You're probably going to get a point. But I mean, looking at it, it's fairly, like I said, decimated, isn't it?
So we've got midfield Robin Turner, Walk, Muren, and Mills.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't know how that would have set up. I reckon Turner might have played up front with Marin and maybe Gates dropping
Gates
back
behind.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon
Turner,
potentially.
Marin,
Yeah,
and Gates as those
yeah.
three.
I thought Turner might have played up alongside Marin. He was that sort of kind of a old-fashioned inside forward type position. Yeah.
Now the thing is that you're in your third game away from home with your substitute keeper, with all due respect to Laurie Civil, and you're going in 10 minutes 0-0 at Brighton, and you're probably thinking we'll get away with a draw. We're not ideally happy with the point at this side, but Burley picks up an injury in the final 10 minutes. Mish DeVray comes in. Now tell me what the team is at that point.
Because Christ knows, I don't know. Yeah, so unless you would think they're not playing. You would think they're not really going with three up front at that point. So I guess DeVray slots in alongside Mariner, and Turner then does drop back. Oh, bloody hell! Yeah.
83rd minute, Michael Robinson scores the only goal of the game.
Yeah, we get done, don't we? Yeah. 83rd. Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, I mean, what a couple of seasons we've had. That's our second league defeat in 37 league games. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That's the end of that league run. Bobby Robson starts talking about the players being injured and that being a big handicap. So that's a conversation that's going around now. But the league table at this point on the Tuesday night, we dropped down to third, 22 points from 15. Liverpool leapfrog us to second up with 22 from 16 on goal difference. Villa 25 on 16. Now the key thing is we're only one game behind them, but Villa then play on the Wednesday night and win on the Wednesday night.
Right.
So we'll see a bit of a change in the points difference when we get to Saturday. But Saturday we're back home. Jock Wallace is the Leicester manager, and they were bottom. And this guy, I don't know if he was any good. Gary Lineker played.
Yeah, I saw that. I checked that. Yeah, young Lineker up front for Leicester. Yeah. It must have been one of his first seasons, I guess.
I like the fact that you checked that. That's good. You got to keep me on my toes. So we've got 3 team changes now. Butcher back in suspended Butcher's back in for Alan Hunter. Burley obviously picked up that injury, so Roger Osborne comes back into his first start, I think, for the season, and Mills then goes to right back, and then Alan Brazil's back in for Turner. So you've got your Mariner and Brazil with Gates just behind, Walk, Osborne, and Murin in midfield. Town take the lead after 21 minutes. Eric Gates. An own goal by Williams in the 56th minute makes it 2-0, and DeVray scores his first league goal.
A good goal. Yeah, Civil goal kick, and Mariner sips in. He larrups it in, does he? Yeah, good finish that. Yeah.
And Williams, who'd already scored for us, decides to score for his own team, and
that symmetry stat. You love a bit
consolation.
Of symmetry.
Consolation. So this is a game that we would have expected to win. They're bottom.
First double, so beat them on the first day of the season, and first double of the season. And obviously looks like looking at the league positions and the points there at that point. Villa, obviously, we get a point back on Villa because they draw obviously that day, I assume.
Let's have a look. Villa were on 20. Yeah, Villa draw and Liverpool draw, and we win. So Liverpool are third now, 23 points, 17 games. We're 24 points, 16 games, and Villa are 28. 18. But now if you look at it, Villa at that point are 4 points ahead of us with only 2 games and 4 points that we can catch up on them. The mascot in the programme, if you want to know what kind of thrilling notes are, it is Welsh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got no. Yeah, he's from
Wales,
South Glamorgan.
Ah, okay.
And his name is. Let's get a little.
Simon James. There he is. He's 9, because he's coming up for 50. All right, Simon, yeah.
So
nice one.
Yeah, good for him, and his favourite player is Paul Mariner.
Yeah, why not?
So we haven't got a game midweek, but the FA decide that some of our players haven't played enough games. So midweek, Mick Mills captains England, and his teammate Paul Mariner scores in a 2-1 win against Switzerland.
Oh, is it Switzerland 1980? Yeah, okay, yeah. Because it's 8.
At Wembley in a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah, this is one of the early ones, obviously for the 82, of course. Yeah. Can't remember. Can't remember that game, but yeah.
No, I can't remember any of that. Osman's away with the England B side, and during that week, the Portman Road hosts the England under-21s versus Sweden under-21s.
Yeah, again.
So we've got a week off, apart from
Yeah.
those that were involved in the internationals. And what you don't really want is, after these sort of run of games that we've had, is to go away to the City ground, Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest. Now, maybe you can kind of put this into context, because reading what Bobby Robson was saying, and particularly talking about this game after the result, that the City ground and the Forest team were a tough side.
Yeah, this was a good win. This really was a good win. Yeah, they were. I mean, look at it. Double European champions, for Christ's sake. Perhaps the great Forest side of the league winning side, and that was starting slightly to break up a bit. I mean, you've got people like Wallace up front. You've got, I think, Peter Ward. Peter Ward was probably playing then as well. So yeah, certain of the players from the Great Forest side. I think Woodcock by that point had obviously gone to Cologne, gone to Germany. So it's starting to break up. But yeah, it's still a very, very tough place to go.
I mean, the standout players for me were Shilton, Anderson, Viv Anderson,
Yeah.
McGovern, Burns, Mills, and Bowyer. Not to be confused with Boyer.
Not to be confused with Ian Bowyer. Yeah, no, really strong, and all those players. So Gary Mills probably came off the bench, but all those players would have played in probably both of the European finals.
The only change there was Tyson for Osborne. So we're moving closer to our starting 11.
Yeah.
Brazil. If you want to talk about this goal, in this 37th minute, Town take the lead.
This is quite. This is just finishing Brazil, and he gets put through one. I mean, I can't recall Brazil ever missing. I'm sure he did. I just can't recall Brazil ever missing a one-on-one. I just can't. And I think he gets a bit of luck. But anyway, he gets through, and bearing in mind it's Shilton, and he sort of gives Shilton the eyes, and just sort of outside his left foot, just slips it past him gently in the corner. He's just class finisher one-on-one. Probably one of the best I've seen one-on-one Brazil.
I mean, like you said, he put it past Shilton, who was at that time England's number half. So more about the other half of the Ray Clements later on. But yeah, he did
linkage.
He did make Peter Shilton look a little bit silly. But
brilliant.
Big news at the end of the day was that Liverpool had beaten Villa. The league table is bunching up again now. Liverpool third, 25 from 18. We're second, 26 from 17, and Villa 28 from 19. And then we're back into the UEFA Cup again on the Wednesday. Vizsla Lodz with. I didn't even look to see who their manager was, but I was so interested because Bobby Robson said before the game that the Vizsla Lodz manager tried to have a bet with him, that he was so confident that they were going to win. And do you want to tell us why he was so confident?
I mean, they were basically favourites for the whole thing. I mean, in the first two rounds, they'd beaten, probably quite right, they'd beaten we'd beaten Aris Salonika and Bohemians Prague, but they'd beaten, I'm not quite sure what order, but Juventus and Man U, for Christ's sake. So, yeah, they were useful, and they had the great, in midfield, they had the great Boniek, the big Boniek in midfield, who was, at the time, certainly, I think, probably all just about to become Poland's captain, and probably Poland's greatest, arguably Poland's greatest ever. Yeah, great player, went on to play for Juventus, and absolutely brilliant player. Can
I just stop you there? He's saying that Bart's not Poland's greatest player?
One of them, I said.
Right, okay, fine. I was just a bit worried about Hart.
Of course he is.
They had another player called Zmuda, who was apparently a big name.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was Polish. He was certainly Polish international. I think certainly Zmuda had played in. Played certainly. I think he even goes back to probably the '74 World Cup finals when going back to when they knocked England out in the qualifiers. So yeah, a lot of caps for Poland. Yeah, good side. Another crack side as the press would say.
Crack outfit. Yes. And talking about crack outfits, it sounds a bit like crack. Paul Cooper's back wearing black tracky bottoms, so I don't know whether he's been watching Laurie Civil from the stands.
Well, what's the date of this game? What's the date stat?
26th of November.
Yeah, it's chilly, mate. It's chilly. It was chilly up in Churchman's that night. I remember that.
Was it -16?
I think it was quite that chilly, mate.
and we're actually getting back to, apart from Burley being out, we're going back to our strongest team. But Steve Mccall is now making left back his own, and Mills is moving over to right back. But that will change over the next few weeks. We'll go through the first goal. Walk scores after 22 minutes. Typical John Walk goal. Fires it home from 6 yards. The second goal, terrible defending. The keeper takes a quick kick. Tyson.
What about the finish, though? For God's sake, go on.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on, Franz Tyson's my favourite player, and this is one of the reasons why. He was always alert. He knew what was happening, and he was pouncing on that ball before the defender even realised that he was coming. He very unselfishly plays it to Alan Brazil, who, any goal, as we've said many times on the History Pod, that come back down off the crossbar.
Yeah.
Great
finish, side foot across the keeper, bar and in. Unbelievable
2-0, so 3 minutes to half, 4 minutes to half time, and we're quite happy with that, I think. And then John Walk just before half time, another one, stabs at home, standard John Walk.
Standard.
So what was it like? Can you remember, apart from it being chilly, do you remember people thinking, hang on a minute, we're 3-0 up against his
crack outfit? Yeah, I think this is one of my favourite games. It's one of my favourite games of the season, I think, because we were absolutely dominant. Because they were the favourites, and you sort of going along thinking, oh, this is going to be, tough. But we absolutely destroyed them. And one goal in particular, in a minute, you're probably going to describe as this must be in Mills's top 10. Surely, it's one of my favourite goals of the season. This one.
Yeah, Mick Mills' top 10 of the season. I didn't write down what number it was. This is his 7th favourite game of the season, and the next goal from Paul Mariner. But so I'll describe it, right, and I'm going to be quite bland, and then you can jazz it up a little bit. So Murin crosses it, and Mariner heads it in.
I mean, it's what I remember about it, it's quite a sweeping move. I've seen it on YouTube and stuff, but Murin just doesn't cross it. Murin crosses it from quite wide with it outside of his left foot, which is something else.
And Mariner,
and we basically said Mariner, brave, strong, almost the perfect centre forward target man. Just absolutely comes thundering in, takes the defender, everyone with him, and just basically makes it his and heads it, and always expects he heads it in the roof of the net from about 7-8 yards. Absolutely class. But it's just the cross. It's just ridiculous. It's a thing of beauty. Outside of the left foot, class. Absolute class goal. Yeah, one of my favourites of the season. That one definitely. I'm with Mick on that.
Yeah, definitely. 8 minutes later, John Walk scores the 5th. Walk breaks. Kevin O'Callaghan goes down the wing, and Walk from Mariner's got up, headed it in. The keeper's coming out, and John Walker's got the faintest of touches.
Yeah, this is it. This is up Churchman's End. Yeah, I remember this, where he just sort of sticks his leg out and just he pokes it in, doesn't he? He poked it.
Yeah. 85th minute, McMills gets injured, and that means that he's going to have 8 stitches, and he'll be out for the next 6 games.
Mate, honestly, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah.
People are slightly more interested. 20,000 are at the game now. What you don't want is to be in the UEFA Cup and beat the favourites at home 5-0, because you don't want to be everybody to think you got to watch Ipswich. And the fortunate thing was, on the same night, another team sent shockwaves throughout Europe when Saint Etienne beat Hamburg 5-0 in Germany.
Oh, that was away, wasn't it? Yeah. No, now thinking about it, I can recall that. Yeah, that did sort of take the heat off us a bit.
Yeah, everybody's talking about that. We've got a mascot. They're from Stewmarket.
Oh, well, it's Stewmarket.
Where are we on here?
Let's have a look. This is Stephen Cook. Yeah. It doesn't say. Oh no, he's 8. So he's coming up 49. Okay. Yeah,
I would suggest, if you were allowed to go out, that you'd go and have a knock on 99 Lockington Crescent, Stowmarket, to say.
Do you remember? Take a screenshot. Take a screenshot.
Classic. There's walking with a.
Look at that.
With a flag.
Christ, look at that program stat. Beautiful.
I wondered if you wanted to go through pronunciation of some of the.
Grebos, Milanarchik, Plik, Grebosh, Masheko, Zamuda, Klokinski, Pieter Zhivesky, Boniek, Rozborski. Oh, Smolarek as well. Smolarek was certainly a Polish. That's a name I know from me. I can't even say the Klepinski, Rompka, Lisiak, Dabrowski. Brilliant. Look at that. Yeah.
You kind of cheated a little bit. I'll give you that, but I thought you were going to mention the first names as well.
Yeah, so, we've got to move on.
Tell me what happened between Wednesday, the 26th of November. We beat the Crack outfit 5-0.
Yeah.
And then on the Saturday, the game's postponed. Pitches covered snow.
I think it was a frozen. We had a frozen spell, mate. Not that I can greatly remember it, but obviously we did. It was bloody cold. I remember it was cold that night against Fitzgerald Lodge up in Churchman. So yeah, obviously so had a cold spell, mate.
See, were you in your pajamas like Laurie Civil?
I don't think I was in my pajamas. No, 1980. What I've been wearing 1980? Probably some sort of, mate. Oh God, yeah, some sort of, I don't know, flary jeans and basketball boots or something. I don't know. Would I? I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. 80.
Wow.
Oh no, probably
for bed.
No, I'm talking about at the game. No, probably. Oh, actually, no, probably a bit slightly. No, 1980. Hang on. Probably slightly straighter jeans and Doc Martens or something like that.
Drain pipes, they call them.
Yeah, like that.
Now I'm going to present this to you as another witness for the case that we kind of prosecution. That's what I'm looking for. We had Fash News equaliser in the League Cup against Norwich, which meant we then had to go and play them in a replay. And I think Villa played that night, so we lost a game in hand. So now we can't even keep our own pitch properly covered. So we miss out on a game. Liverpool and Villa both win. We now go down to third on 26 with 17 games, but Liverpool in second on 27 and Villa top on 29 have both played 3 more games than us. So I went back and we're already 3 league games behind. Liverpool are still progressing in the League Cup. They played the same games as Town at that stage, but they were in the European Cup but had only played 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So
less teams, obviously. Only the winners in those days, Stat. Only the winners and the holders in those days. So yeah.
So we moved to game 28, which is on the following Saturday. We're at Main Road, which is where Manchester City used to play. And John Bond, who earlier in the season was manager of Norwich City, is there. What were Man City like back in the early 80s? I mean, our list of players that I knew: Corrigan, Ransom, Power, Hutchison, Dennis Chewett and Reeves.
Yeah, Kevin Reeves. I mean, half decent side. I mean, we all know what happens later on in spoiler alert, later on in the season. Got a disappointing game with Man City far in the months ahead. But reasonable, solid side. Probably still had Asa Hartford in midfield as well, I think, at that stage. So perhaps. So yeah, half decent.
The only change we got for the team is obviously Mills is out with that injury, so Burley comes back in, and it's fortunate that him and Burley seem to be fit. One of them's fit.
It's always come across in these first 2 parts as just how little the actual first choice 11 actually played. Yeah.
Always changed at the back, but like I said, the front 6 are starting to settle again. Gates Walk, Tyson Muir, and Mariner, Brazil. Yeah. Mariner takes over the captaincy armband. Goal from Urin in the 12th minute. I couldn't find anything about that.
Great goal, half volley, I think.
Yeah. I'm keeping you up. Is it talk about the pajamas, is it?
Yeah, it's talking about pajamas, mate. You got me going there, mate. Yeah.
And then 15 minutes from the end, Gow.
Jerry Gow. Yeah. Little tigerish midfielder, tiny. Yeah, tiny little midfielder. Came from
tiny name.
Scottish. Came from Bristol City, I think.
Yeah, he equalises in the just before the build up to him scoring. Paul Cooper broke his nose.
What, Jerry Gow's nose?
Maybe he did. I thought Paul Cooper broke his own nose.
Oh, okay.
That could just be my own grammar, but yeah, maybe Paul Cooper did. He was so disgusted he smacked him in the face after.
It's commonplace in those days.
Bobby Robson's getting a bit frustrated now. Great first half. He said, sat back in the second half, and he said we must get into games and play 90 minutes. And I think he's kind of perhaps calling out his players' ability to finish off games now.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if we'd have won that game, we'd have got an extra point because Villa lost at Middlesbrough that day. I mean, who would lose at Middlesbrough?
What sort of result is that, for God's sake? Hey?
So the league table is Town are third, only 2 points off the top now. They're on 27 from 18, and Liverpool are now joint top with Villa, 29 points from 21. But it wasn't all joyous for Liverpool because 2 days later they lost one of their famous favourite sons.
Yeah, I made a
John
note
Lennon.
of that. Yeah, it was John Lennon, wasn't it? Yeah, 8th of December 1980. And only 8th of December, John, my eldest boy's birthday, not then, 11 years later. But yeah, John Lennon died. Yeah, can remember it well. Yeah, bloody hell.
Do you remember your son's birthday from the actual date, or do you work out most of your family's birthdays from when famous people were killed or shot?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean that'll always remember. Always remember that. I mean, that was just huge news. Yeah, for goodness sake. And then, and obviously a few weeks later, his music totally dominated the charts, of course.
Certainly did. So then we're on a plane off to Poland, and I think at the time I was probably watching John Craven's news round and hearing a lot about Lech Wałęsa and
you were
his movement, solidarity. Yeah.
You were.
Positive news for Town, whilst they're defending a 5-0 lead, is that Boniek's injured. But the talk before the game was about the pitch covered in snow and ice. Robson said it was colder than Prague.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad. I mean, and the thing is, I think what the slightly concerning thing about this, I think Robson said the pitch was rutted. I think they'd driven like a tractor across it to pull the snow off, and it had frozen, the ruts had frozen and stuff like that. But apparently a UEFA official had said to Robson, look, if this game doesn't get played tonight, it ain't going to be played for another 2 months. So I think might have been interesting had we had a 2-goal lead or even, something like that. But a 5-goal lead, I think Robson felt shit with, given he can see the possible fixture congestion coming up, let's get it done 5-0. We should be all right. And again, look who plays, Beattie again, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't play. No. Mills is in for Burley, so it's quite a strong team. But Beattie could have played. Beattie, you're still thinking about the other game where Beattie was in.
Maybe I'm still thinking about Bohemians.
He left a mark on you in that game, didn't he?
He did,
certainly
mate.
did.
He did. I thought
the only goal
did play in this game, but no, you're right. He didn't. Of course.
Go on. Well, don't take my notes.
You're right.
The only goal came after 55 minutes as a professional display from Town, like you said. Just get in there, get out with what you've got. Now, a funny story that I read was that it was a 3-hour coach drive from Lodz. Apologies for my poor pronunciation, to Walsall Airport. I didn't realise Walsall had an airport, but yeah, they went to Walsall Airport in Poland. Yeah. And kitman Trevor Curtin, he travelled separately in a van because he had all of the kit, all of the big cages or whatever you want to say. And on the way there, his van overturned and he dislocated his shoulder, but him and the guy who was with him, it uses the term righted the van up, so I'm kind of guessing it was overturned.
Yeah.
He then drove a few miles down the road and the van overturned again and Trevor Curtin's shoulder popped back in again.
Yeah, what a story. Yeah.
So he needed it was good that he was there because obviously a few days later we had a small game. So this
is just ridiculous, isn't it? For God's sake. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Game 30 of the season. This is, Dave.
I think we should say. I'm not even sure. Did you mention it? Sorry. I mean, we concede a goal in that game, but we get through comfortably enough. And I think Robson basically said, "Yep, job done. Good decision. Played the game. On we go." And then, as you said, to set the scene, we've just got a small game at Anfield coming up on the Saturday. It's ridiculous.
It's at Portman Road, Dave.
Sorry. Okay. Well, all over the place. No, you're right.
We played them before. Now it's fine. It's a 30th game, and people want to watch this game. And the gates are locked half an hour before kickoff.
Yeah.
3,000 fans are turned away. I tell you what, next season, if we were in League One, we might be lucky to get half that. It's 3,000 fans turned away. A crowd of 32,274. We've got a team of Cooper, Burley, Butcher, Osman, McCall, Gates, Walk, Tyson, Murin, Mariner and Brazil. Bob Paisley manages Liverpool. There's a positive for us that there's no Doug Leash. But who comes in?
Yeah, that helps. Yeah.
Who comes in?
Who comes in for Doug? Well, I mean, incredible. It's his league debut, Ian Rush, for God's sake. Yeah. He sort of makes a slight impact, doesn't he?
Your thoughts about what Rushy had to offer back then?
Well, he'd played with City before. He'd played a season or so before for Chester against us, hadn't he? At Portman Road. I think largely unnoticed, I think. But I think Liverpool, when Liverpool buy a player from the lower division, obviously they bought 10 years before, they bought Keegan from Scunthorpe, for Christ's sake. Ray Clements came from Scunthorpe. So you kind of know when Liverpool buy a player from lower division, they've got something about them. And must admit, I can't remember much about Rush in the in the game itself, but he he does go on to have quite a half decent career for them.
He does, and I've kind of unfairly kind of set you up a little bit, but I went to look what his record was in that season, and he didn't score.
No.
So,
I wouldn't have thought he played that much, to be fair. That's it.
Positives for Town in this game. Well, first of all, the game, I think it was on the big match. And this is probably one of the first times that Radio Suffolk's summariser Mick Mills gets behind the microphone, because if you listen to this game, Mick Mills is the co-commentator with Jerry Harrison.
Jerry Harrison on the match of the week or big match. Yeah.
So he would have mentioned that David Johnson, Mark 1, had went off early, meaning that Ian Rush on his debut was playing up front with emergency striker Sammy Lee. So when you kind of see this and you're thinking, well, when I first saw it, you think, we got a draw, right? Spoilers, we got a draw. But when you start seeing the problems that they had no Keegan, David Johnson goes off. They've got Ian Rush on his debut playing up front with Sammy Lee. This is
no Dalglish, who made a habit of scoring against Ipswich. Let's face it. Yeah.
Now tell me about the goal after 23 minutes. Brazil. Mick Mills again puts it in his top 10 goals of the season.
Yeah, I think it's a Mills assist, isn't it? Does Mills play this?
No,
sorry. I'm sorry, Mills assist. Mills commentating. Walk plays it through, and it's the finish, isn't it? It's Brazil, so Brazil's away, and again, a little bit like the Forest game with Shilton. It's Clements. He's bearing down on Clements, and he's just sticks away from memory, sort of just underneath him. But he's nothing. No chance. But 1-on-1, he was just like an assassin 1-on-1. Never missed.
It was.
Yeah.
And you're right. Mick Mills did assist it from the microphone.
Yes,
but it was John Walk, and the thing is, John Walk's header in the middle of the park is so powerful, and the Liverpool back four aren't expecting it. Brazil obviously is, and it goes back a little bit what we were talking about Jim Magilton and that time. Brazil's already on it. He knows where the ball's going to go, and that powerful header, and it's a fantastic finish. And as I put down, he's now scored against both of England's number halves, as they were known at that point.
Yeah, we should say that was down to Ron Greenwood, the England manager at the time. He couldn't choose between Shilton and Clement, so he alternated. Obviously, then when Robson came in, it was obviously very much Shilton. So, crikey, Shilton would have had bloody hell 200 caps probably, if not.
So Ron Greenwood was indecisive.
Seemingly so with his goalkeepers, but you kind of can understand it. They were both not a lot to choose between either of them, I don't think.
But as we've noticed over the previous weeks, Town can't hold on to the lead, and Jimmy Case scores after 62 minutes.
I can't remember much about that goal, I must admit. Knowing Jimmy Case, it was probably a thunder bastard, but I can't remember much about it.
Bob Robson again, he's disappointed at the end. Says strong first half, but the failure to keep it going in the second, and he must be getting fed up with it. I've said it about 4 or 5 times in this pod. So the league table is obviously Villa take advantage that their rivals are playing each other. So we're third, 28 points on 19 games. Liverpool 30 on 22, and Villa now 1 point ahead on 31 with 22. And everybody was buzzing because that night after the game, the talk was all about the FA Cup third round draw.
Oh man, yeah, of course, yeah. Look at where we are, 13th of December, which, well, I mean, what a draw! It was the plum draw. So first against, almost first against third. So we draw Villa at home.
Well, one question I got for you, and I could look in the programme. It's not on the back. Here's the programme. It's David Johnson and Terry Butcher from the match at Anfield. Who was Irwin that played for Liverpool?
Colin Irwin, went on to play for went on to play for Swansea. Yeah. So there was a lot of movement between Liverpool and Swansea. So people like Ray Kennedy went to Swansea, and certainly Toshak Toshak was obviously manager the season later when Swansea got promoted, and Colin Irwin ended up playing for them. Wouldn't have thought. So he's very much a deputy for Phil Thompson, I guess. The likes of Phil Thompson back then, Hansen, I guess.
Now we go to White Hart Lane on the Wednesday night, and and Ben's told us to keep this brief. Well, there's a few.
We can't go through them all.
No, let's just pick the Tottenham. So managed by Keith Burtonshaw, and when I was younger, I always thought his name was Keith Birkinshaw, so I had to make sure that I didn't call him Burke, unless his name is Keith Birkinshaw, and I got confused.
Keith Birkinshaw stat. That's why you put that in there, haven't you? Yeah, there was a referee called Norman Burtonshaw, but he certainly was Keith Birkinshaw.
Exactly.
Keep on toes there, stat. Come on now.
And the team that they've got is Houghton, standout. Well, actually, quite a few. And I know you're going to purr at some of these. Houghton, Roberts, Perryman, Ardiles, Archibald, Villa, Hoddle, and Crooks.
Good side. I like Spurs. I mean, I'm well known that Hoddle's probably my favourite player, other than any Ipswich player of the '80s. Comfortably my favourite player. But yeah, that was quite an one or two. Never like Perryman or Roberts particularly, but yeah, good side. Never good enough. Very too loose to have a really serious challenge for title and stuff like that. But yeah, a good side, good footballing side there. Some great players there. Flair, a lot of flair in that side.
A lot of flair, yeah. Good to watch. Town are almost to full strength. Only Mccall for Mills at left back, and this is one of our games in hand. So we've obviously got to make sure we pick up some points. I'll go to half time. It's 1-1. Sorry, it's 2-1. Yeah. If we were going to go in at 1-1 with
Hoddle scores a ridiculous free kick. Yeah.
Mariner equalised and Hoddle's free kick at 2-1. I'll just go through the goals and you jump in when you want to talk about them. Gates scores to make it 2-2 after 55.
This is a filthy night. This night, it's rainy and it's windy, and if there's a very grainy YouTube video of the goals, and Gates is one of the ones where it seems like it's scored up Gainsborough Sports Centre because it's a cross and the wind gets in and keepers like this and it just ends up in the back of the net. Yeah.
So that's 2-2.
Yeah.
Perryman puts Tottenham 3-2 ahead after 60 minutes, and then on the 76th minute, Eric Gates, and I might be being a bit biased, is scythed down. Then he's stamped on, and I think some people would say that he was sent off for retaliation. But I've seen some people who think, well, I think it's quite harsh with considering what he wasn't protected very much.
That was Graham Roberts. I think it was a proper old-fashioned, kick him up in the air defender. Yeah, I think he does get up, and I think he apparently pushes Roberts in the chest. But I think by this time, the ref had lost the plot. I think.
I'll tell you what, I've lost the plot with my notes because I put that in the wrong line. So Mariner had equalised, so it was 60 after 65 minutes. It's 3-3. Yeah. So we're going into 15 minutes 3-3. Bobby Robson said that he felt that this game should have ended in a draw. We go down to 10 men with 14 minutes to go, and in the 81st, Archibald. In the 88th, Ardiles, we lose our game in hand 5-3.
Yeah, not good. Not a good night, really. Not a good night. No.
Did you say it's one of the strangest, the referee's decisions? Were they one
of the
strangest? I think
so, yeah. I read in that Robson, but it was really good. I think the trainer goes on, Eggleston, the town trainer, to treat somebody, and he comes back to the dugout and says the ref's absolutely lost it. He's out there, the crowd are up for it. The ref's shaking like a leaf sort of thing, and Robson sort of said it seems only a matter of time before there was a flashpoint, and unfortunately it went against us. Yeah.
Well,
I think he also criticised Perryman in there. Perryman's rampaging about, kicking people and stuff like that, and doesn't even get booked. I think Robson really, has a go about that as well.
And it could have been impacted on what happened the next day, which was the famous Rendlesham UFO incident.
You love this. Seriously, was it? The very next day.
The next day. Strange happenings. So that was our game in hand. We're on 28 points from 20. Liverpool on 30 from 22, and Villa on 31 from 22. Now, you remember I said if you look about the points tracker, if you look where Villa were after 20 games, they were on 29 points. So we're only 1 point behind them at that point. Now we move coming up to Christmas. goodness knows what people were wearing if they were wearing pajamas and drainpipe jeans in bed in the early November. We're away to Birmingham City. Jim Smith's Birmingham City is a 21st league game, so halfway through the season. Big question before the game: are Town cracking? You know, if you look at the results, we lost 5-3. We drew 1-1 against a pretty poor Liverpool team that didn't have Doug Leash or an emergency striker.
Yeah, I think questions were starting to be asked. I think, again, it's they never feel it. They're never still fielding a consistent 11, are they? I mean, different little players. I mean, this one, as we see, still no Mills, and now O'Callaghan in for obviously Gates, who's suspended.
Yeah. But lining up in that fantastic orange away shirt and black shorts, I love that kit.
Yeah,
and I think we give the critics what they deserve, and it ended up in a 3-1 win. Mariner, Walk, and Brazil scored 3 goals. Walk's on
Brazil. This footage of the Brazil goal's ridiculous. The move. So Walk sort of makes a move forward, collects the ball, I think probably from Murin, and sort of runs to the edge of the box and does a bit of an extravagant sort of back heel. Obviously gets a call. Brazil just takes a touch. A finish is absolutely ridiculous. Left foot on an angle, far corner. Absolutely class goal.
Places it in the corner, doesn't he?
Oh, it's a bullet. It's a great goal.
But can I just say to you,
an important win.
Yeah, can I just say to you that back heel that Walkie does? Do you think he really does it properly? It doesn't look like the flashiest of.
Yeah, almost gets stuck in the mud, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But you, quick mention for Walk's goal in this game.
This is a good goal. Header.
It's in McMill's top 10 goals of the season. Yeah. We're now up to 23 of McMill's top 10 goals. There are so many of them. But yeah, fantastic passing before that, and like a lovely dink cross from Murin.
Late run from Walk, finds the corner, shock.
We need that. We need that. Great result is what Bobby Robson said when people were beginning to doubt our ability, and we needed it. Villa lost at Brighton.
Yeah, again, some symmetry with results here. Yeah, they lose at Brighton, which again, surprising.
So we're now still we're third on 30 points from 21. Villa dropped to second on 31 points from 23, and Liverpool are top 32 points from 23. So it really is it's a 3-horse race.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
And what is surprising about this is look at the table now. You're coming up to Christmas now, and you see it's a 3-horse race, and the 1 horse of those 3 that you think will last the pace obviously doesn't. But anyway, spoiler.
I like that.
There you go.
So we've had Christmas. We've all sat down and watched The Man with the Golden Gun, which was the Christmas film.
Was it really? Come on. Yeah,
it was.
Christmas 1980. Yeah, okay. Yes, obviously still living at home. And, yeah, God knows. Yeah, brilliant. Good times.
How did the theme song for that to go? Was it "He's the man with the golden gun"? But that was
Gold thing. It was. I think "Man with the Golden Gun" was sung by. I think it was Lulu. I think Lulu did that. Sure she sung that. I think.
Did she shout it?
No, hang on. How was it? Man with the golden. Yeah. I sort of suddenly remember. Yeah, you were doing Goldfinger, I think. But you were.
Talking point. So we're playing Norwich City, who then were just a team that we probably gave an extra 2% against because they were our local rivals.
Yeah,
but not the rivalry we had.
Comfortable.
Do you want to know an interesting point?
Go.
Do you know who the goalkeeper was for Norwich City that day?
The goalkeeper for Norwich City that day.
I think I might have added it to the notes after I sent it to you. It says no.
So it wasn't Kevin Keegan?
No, Kevin Keegan was not in goal.
Roger Hansbury?
No.
Ooh. Goalkeeper.
Another famous keeper they had.
Go on.
Was Chris Woods.
But it
wasn't him.
No.
It wasn't him either. It was, and I've checked and double checked and triple checked, Clive Baker.
Our Clive Baker. Was it really?
Check it in your. Yeah, he was in goal for Norwich.
Wowzers. Yeah. Okay, shout.
So I don't know how old he was then. we've got the R11.
Had Civil still been in goal for us, do you think that probably may have been the two shortest keepers ever in opposition in the top division against each other? Must have been. Yeah.
And the referee is standing in the centre circle at half time and saying, "Keeper, where are you?" This little wave. I like a short keeper.
There's a lot to be said for short keepers.
Talking point before the game was not how short was the Norwich goalkeeper, but was about Franz Tyson's ongoing contract dispute.
Remember that. Oh, yeah.
Who was there any? What were the murmurings back then?
And the murmurings in the press was that he wasn't gonna resign. You know, his 2-year deal was up, and he wasn't gonna re-sign a new deal. I think he obviously had admirers and offers from this country, and also I think Chelsea was one of them, and certainly back in Europe as well. I think Feyenoord, which was his team. I think they were certainly sniffing around. So yeah, I mean it generally looked like, and latterly Muren as well, that he was going to move on. Yeah,
and more of that in.
Just finished that again. Yeah, read it again.
Yeah. So Town win this game. We're only playing Norwich. We beat them 2-0. Goals from Brazil and Ward. Bobby Robson said we might have even finished more convincing winners. 28,000 turned up. Any more to add?
Just a shout on this one. Big Joe up front for Norwich, who was 71 yesterday, Stat, I think.
He was 71. Yeah.
And Clive Wood's on the bench.
Here we go. Clive Baker.
There you go. Look at that. Who's the three? Drazan, Muzanic, Mick Maguire, Phil Hoadley, McDowell, Mendham, Fashanu, Royal, Steve Go. My God, there you go. And that's decent players there.
And one of the most iconic Ipswich Town programs. If there was a kit vote, if there was a program vote, I'd do it, and then the club would do it 6 months later. But this is an iconic. Look at this.
Yes.
The big yin.
Big yin. Brilliant. Yeah, Walkie still with his escape to victory haircut, and George, brilliant.
I've got to say, I didn't really like the programme. What I do like is that Norwich City get one page. That's it. No more. They've still got that silly insert bit. So you've got lots about Johnny Rep. There's a bit about Justin Fashanu again. A bit about Grimsby.
We've done the films. What films were on, Stat? What's a Christmas film?
Let's have a look at the mascot. But he's another one from Stowmarket. And this is 8.
Yeah.
Looks very smart.
8. His name is Andrew Robinson. Okay. Yeah.
He's from Dappled Light. What on earth that is? Dappled Light, Harleston, Stowmarket.
Okay. Yeah, Harleston.
Yeah, so let's have a look to see what was on.
What's the film Stat? Come
on. We have got. I should have put another light on here. So the Odeon, they've got Hawk the Slayer.
Okay. Can't say I saw that.
The Wildcats of Centrinians.
Okay. Yeah.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks, great. Yeah, good old holiday film. Yeah.
That was on at the Odeon. At the ABC, they had Flash Gordon,
Oh, yeah.
Burgers and Beans, and they had one of my favourite films ever, Any Which Way You Can. Clint Eastwood and
the sequel to Every Which Way But Loose, of course.
Exactly, yeah.
The classic, yeah.
Capital City, The Hunter, and Black Sunday were other films. Now, I think in the middle here on the fixture page, they have what was on at the... No, because you know what was on? It was the Panto.
Of course. Pantomime. Of course.
Mother Goose, followed by on the 17th of January, Slade.
That's a long run. Slade, seriously. Slade were on. Come on.
They were in from January to July and back to January again. Yeah, Slade. And then on the 24th of February, and it could have been a lot to do. Maybe there weren't any zoos, but they've got Camel. So it sounds like there was a camel on stage.
Yeah, I think, not that I know a lot about, I think one of these 70s prog rock bands, I think. Someone will correct me.
Now
where we go for the last game of the year, Stat? We're nearly there. Come on.
We are. It's the 27th of December. It's the 34th game of the season. Now, fortunately...
Just to put this into context, is it a day later?
Yeah, good point. It's a date. So we play on the Friday, and I reckon they said, well, we normally play on the Saturday, play on the Saturday.
That comes very much out of that book that we just read, the Dutch book, when they said, when they say English football's crazy. So that, we're playing Boxing Day and we're playing the day after. They just cannot get their head around it.
The fortunate thing is that because Burley's injured, Mick Mills is back again fit, which seems to have swings and roundabouts. Alan Sunderland scores in the 35th minute for Arsenal. Yeah. So it's Terry Neal's Arsenal at Highbury. Sunderland takes the lead. Before we go on too much about the game, just want to talk about the Arsenal team, which I missed. So we got Jennings, Sampson, Talbot, Young, Hollins, Sunderland, Stapleton. Good side. Decent
side, yeah, decent.
But not enough to sustain pressure on the top three.
I don't think so. They had a good season. Arsenal had a good season there. I mean, I think they finished as high as 4th, maybe. They had a good season. Yeah, did have a good season. I mean, it's good players in that team. Yeah.
You keep. High. I was trying to look at the. When you try and look for something. Oh, there we go. So they finished 3rd.
There you go. Yeah, I knew they had a good season.
Good side. So at half-time we're 1-0 down, and then Bobby Robson makes a tactical change, and he said afterwards that Town deliberately played long balls. He said it was similar to what Liverpool did to us previously in a couple of weeks ago at Portman Road, and it was a deliberate tactical change to try and get over the top of them. Walkie scored a penalty, a dubious penalty awarded on the 77th minute. But Bobby Robson said it was below par performance, but we have ensured Arsenal haven't moved.
Yeah, I think a good away point to end the year. So just to end this part, Stack. So league positions.
So we're 3rd, 33 points from 23 games, and we're 1 point off 1st and 2nd. Villa on 34 from 25 games, and Liverpool top 34 from 25 games. Now, if you look, we're on 33 points after 23 games, and if I can keep scrolling up here, after 23 games, Liverpool had 32,
right,
and Villa had 31. Yeah. So on that points per game tracker, we're ahead now. Yeah. So we finished the pod in 3rd place. We're at the League Cup. We're through to the UEFA Cup next round. Don't think the draw's been done for that. If it hadn't been mentioned.
No, I don't think so. All I can say is exciting times ahead. I've got to say the next part of this is just going off the charts, for Christ's sake. But yeah, brilliant.
Just a quick note on goal scorers. Which I thought was quite interesting. Own goal has scored 1 along with Davray, Butcher and Beattie.
Yeah.
Russell Osman and Franz Tyson are both with 2. So, Tyson's been injured a fair bit.
Yeah.
Muren only with 3, but he could claim that he's probably scored, assisted 20 of the goals or whatever.
Yeah.
Gates with 7, Brazil with 9, Mariner with 13, albeit 4 of them came in the League Cup. And Walk leads the way with 10 goals more, 12 in the league, 2 in the League Cup, 9 in the UEFA Cup, to give him 23 goals at the end of the year.
Ridiculous. I mean, really, when you look at it, I mean, his tally after, given his 23 goals to the turn of the year, and what he finished with, weren't that great, Christ. But yeah, maybe some teams perhaps began to sort of suss us out a little bit, perhaps. But
I hear that. Go on, you go. Yeah, no, okay. I hear that the headlines is from this video. David Diamond says John Walk let Ipswich down in the business end of the season by not scoring enough goals.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, incredible. I never realised there was such an. What I'm trying to say was I never realised there was such an imbalance up to the turn of the year in his goals. Thinking about it, you think, 36 goals. Yeah, he probably is like 20 and 16 or something like that. So yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Just got a number 1. What do you think? Yeah, mate. What would you think was number 1 at the end of the year? What do you think was number 1 at the end of the year?
It's Christmas song.
Correct.
I'm going to go with, and my dad always used to like some strange songs. So I'm going to put this down with it. Jonah Louie. It's the kind of song that my dad would
That's
like.
a good shout, Stat. It's a good
Stop the
shout.
Cavalry.
I think it perhaps was in the chart then. No, but it's kind of a novelty record, and it is a Christmas song, especially like Christmas song. It was by St Winifred School Choir, and it's called "There's No One Quite Like Grandma." There you go. You won't get a song like that
Fantastic.
top in the charts today, would you, mate? I don't think there'd be many downloads. Well, there probably would be actually, but there you go. Just don't get that sort of novelty record, do you, anymore, really? But
I'm very often not very often lost for words, but you've got me there.
Got you there, mate. Well, yeah. I think that was the last number one before probably about the next 18 weeks of probably John Lennon. He may have been number one before, but yeah, certainly the next few weeks of John Lennon. Brilliant, mate. Enjoyed that. And part two ended. We're getting there. Like I said, really looking forward to the next, certainly to the next part. The part after that might be a bit emotional, but anyway, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think with reference to the Blue Monday podcast, I think you've got some more plans ahead, potentially.
Hopefully, yeah. So, like I said, the way we recorded it, we recorded the first episode, and then Jim came along, and now we've recorded the second episode here, and I'm hopeful. You've always got to, get it in the can as such. But
get it in the can.
My people have spoken to his people, and it looks like over the bank holiday weekend that I'll be sitting down listening to Jim Magilton talk at me for 90 minutes.
He was brilliant. He was superb, mate. Jim's dulcet tones. He was just so relaxed and so, I just what I liked about that word. It's just clarity of it all. The iconic game, his iconic game, the hat-trick game is just his clarity of thought and his recollection of it all was absolutely brilliant. No, enjoyed that, Stat. Stat, where can we find you on social media?
At home, but yeah, at ChompX3.
ChompX3. You can find me at David Diamond 3. We'd love to hear from. Love to hear from anyone when these do go out. Your memories. I'm sure we'll hear from our good friend Jules, and certainly ITFC Clan as well. I'm sure we'll hear from those two. But no, brilliant Stat, great stuff as usual, and look forward to the next one, my friend.
Yeah, enjoyed that, Dave. Cheers.
Cool, mate.